It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Monday, Gary, how's it going?
All right.
Huh?
Doing all right.
All right, good.
Hanging in there. You ready?
All right.
Let's get right to it. Audio. There's so much audio. I mean, again, don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
You know, this is our first day back. This is our Monday, because it is Monday.
Uh-huh. And
normally, you know, most people having to go back to work on Monday would be like, oh, you know, I've got to go back to work after relaxing, you know, nice couple of days off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've got to get the engine going again, throw coffee at me. For us, it's like, nah, the show's done. Work's done.
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody doing our work for us.
Yeah, the weekend continues. I mean, it's just, I'm going through it. Now it's gotten to the point that my wife is doing show prep with me. She's like, hey, did you see the Hexet thing? I'm like, what Hexet thing? Which one? Hey, did you see what Levitt said? What? I'm trying to find the broom, hon. What is?
Well, a couple of my favorite audio cuts. I mean, there's so many of them, but I had to pick out something to start the show, right?
Well, it's got to be one. Now, I suggest to start the show, we just play them all at once, simultaneously. I don't even think we have the technology to do it, but
we may play. It just popped into my head. We may play this one later.
All right,
because it was sort of I think it was Friday, and when Peter Ducey asked Trump, he said, "Any concerns about having Canada as the 51st state, as liberal as they are?" And he said, "Are they liberal?"
Yeah.
And he didn't answer the question. He just moved on. What a great landmass they are. And
well, because in the Hexet, the Air Force F-47 press conference, you know, he brought it up later in that press conference, and he said, "I'm very serious about this." You know, something you and I have talked about, the whole 51st state thing. And it's like, you know, it's gone from what was a joke during transition and, I don't know, maybe toward the end of his campaign and then transition and then after he was sworn in. And now he's like doubling, tripling, quadrupling down. And he said it. He said, "Oh, no, I'm very serious about this because," and, you know, the point he was making in that comment, I have to qualify it. During that comment, the point he was making is that, you know, we subsidize them, so why should we subsidize them if you know, why not make them a state instead of subsidizing them? And then I thought, well, if they were a state, a big liberal state, there would have to be huge subsidies. It might be bigger than it is now.
That one, again, that makes no sense because what he's talking about a subsidy is that we have a trade surplus. He keeps throwing out $200 billion, which is not accurate.
Yeah, trade deficit. Yeah,
the trade deficit that he calls the subsidy.
Mm-hmm.
The subsidy to Trump is a trade deficit.
Right.
But the only reason we have a trade deficit with Canada is because of their oil, which Trump almost demanded TC Energy from Alberta come and get this, you know, get the Keystone Pipeline moving so we can get the cheap Canadian oil.
Right.
So none of it makes any sense. And, you know, it's, as I've said, and I'll say it again, it's interesting because every single day I get, nobody will tell me what they think about tariffs. Mm-hmm. What I get is people saying, I guess some guy sent to me the other day, who was an hour and 44-minute interview with Lutnick. He said, could you listen to this and tell me what you think? No, I'm not doing your homework for you.
No.
You do it. If you have questions, then ask us. But
if you have an opinion, then go ahead.
Right. Nobody will give their opinion. They want to give somebody else's opinion. Mm-hmm. And as we have said, with the administration on tariffs, our biggest problem is they don't communicate effectively on it. I don't know what they want. Now, they give you 5 reasons as to why they wish to do tariffs. I'm just throwing that out. It could be 4, could be 5, could be 6, could be 7. And then when you ask them,
5 sounds pretty short.
then when you ask them a question, they go to the one talking point like, well, what do you mean? Well, yeah, but you've got 4 other talking points that you've given. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm talking about this right now. Yeah, but I have to go by the umbrella of every argument that you have used so I can find a direction of what you're actually doing. Wall Street Journal, one of their lead article yesterday was that they're backing off on some of the tariffs for April 2nd. Mm-hmm. Automobiles, things like that. And we said, well, that's going to be a problem. My thing is, are you doing it for fentanyl or are you doing it to replace the income tax?
Just state your goal.
Yeah,
and then
that's my goal.
Do it.
Because you can't do both.
Right.
You can't do both. You can't do it just reciprocal tariffs and then say that's going to support and get rid of the income tax.
Right.
You can't do both. All I'm looking for is clarity, and I'm amazed that people that call themselves conservatives are furious that you even question anything that this administration does, even when they're totally legitimate questions. And that's all it is. It's a legitimate question. Be clear with me and tell me what you're doing.
Right.
So, but like I said, I laugh because he knows what they are. Trump knows.
Yeah.
He knows. He knows they're liberal. But when he goes, "Are they liberal?" Don't play stupid.
Yeah.
Because we know you're not.
Well,
now I'll get complaints that I'm saying Trump isn't stupid,
or that we're calling Canada liberal.
I
mean,
yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know where the complaints are going to come
Trump
from.
said it's not liberal, so it's not liberal.
I mean,
no, they're liberal.
Right.
He's questioning whether they're liberal. Maybe he doesn't think they're liberal. How do you think that they're liberal?
Look,
we live in a bizarro, drug-fueled world. We really do.
Yeah, I would love for Poilievre to win. The numbers are trending more liberal. In part, they're saying because of the tariffs. I don't know if it's the tariffs or not, but the liberals have gained some ground.
Oh, of course it is.
And I, it's nothing else has happened up there.
Yeah.
So, it probably is. But here's the thing. I don't really care because I didn't really fully expect Poilievre to win. I didn't expect that the liberals would, just sit around once Trudeau was going to step down and get out. Then it was going to be what it's always been up there. And everybody knows it's mostly liberal, with the exception of Alberta. Most of Alberta.
Well, I mean, my buddy down in Florida golfed with 2 Canadians the other day who said, we can't stand our country. It's so incredibly liberal. We can't stand it. They're destroying Canada. These are 2 Canadians that are in Florida. He was just golfing with them yesterday. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, you look at Alberta. Alberta was saying we want to become the 51st state. They sent a delegation down here to become the 51st state, but that's just Alberta. But the main population centers in Canada are as liberal or maybe even more liberal.
Oh, yeah.
Than, California, Illinois, and New York. They're incredibly liberal up there.
Well, because if you do the math there, do the math on Canada becoming the 51st state that we did. Guess what's next? We talked about the liberal agenda isn't over. Pronouns, use the wrong one, go to jail.
Yeah.
This is what will happen. Anybody cheering on this 51st state BS is cheering on the liberals of Canada to take over because California has no problem joining them, but they've been trying to do it for a long, long time in their agenda. So if you're pushing 51st state stuff, that's what you're pushing. There is nothing else to say about that, and you can't debate what I just said. It's a fact.
Well, I mean, that's, like we said, I have no idea why they're wasting the energy on it. And now it's even stopped because we get, oh, look, he's just kidding. It's a negotiating point. No, it's not anymore. Because it's not.
Stop saying it and let everybody know that we don't want them to be a 51st state for all the reasons we've stated.
Well, every Republican needs to say it, including Republicans in Congress. Yep. We do not want Canada's a 51st state.
No.
Stop with the stupidity. Stop with something that is not a negotiating point And anybody who supports it and keeps saying, well, we need to consider it and makes excuses, stop it. It's stupid.
Well, and I also saw a few comments on social media that, well, eventually they would become more. Eventually? You're willing to bet on eventually?
Well, it's not going to happen.
Well, that's the
It's
thing.
not going to happen, so stop it.
They're basing it on a handful of liberals in the U.S. going pro-Trump. Don't bet on that. Don't put your money down on that one. That's the future of our nation we're talking about, and it ain't going to happen, and they're not done. They may be in chaos right now, and without Canada becoming the 51st state, there are some changes going on. You bring Canada into that mix, and it's over. And what I mean by that is, it's over. Well, the whole pronoun thing, the whole First Amendment is blocking our agenda. All of that goes into play and becomes law. And don't you dare call that man a man. He's a woman. You're going to jail.
Yeah, as we know, because we already figured it out, roughly 57 new members of the House and roughly 40 to 45 if you take the ratio of California. And it would be roughly 40 to 45 plus new Democrat House members. And then you would get 2 senators that are also Democrat. And then the Electoral College would be absolutely destroyed for Republicans for years. So it's time to just shut up about that to the White House. Shut up. It's not a negotiating point. It's not getting you anywhere. Not one Republican in the House or Senate wants it.
Look,
there isn't one Republican, not one, except Trump, that's promoting that because it's not going to happen. It would not be beneficial to the United States of America, and it would set the direction of where we're going to, and where we're going is, and Trump is responsible for this, which is good, towards a more conservative / populist. Not that I agree with all of it, but I agree with a significant portion of it, pushing it in a right direction that would be destroyed by having Canada the 51st state.
Well, we had the discussion about Germany.
By the way, stop with well, you guys keep bringing it up. Why do we bring it up? He does. I love it when
we talk about what's in the news every day, and if it's in the news, if that's in the news every day, that's what we're talking about. That's what we do.
That's what we do. And if the president talks about it, we'll bring it up because it is one of the most important things to do. Again, I understand that there are people that are absolutely supportive of Trump no matter what. They know what his weak spots are, and they just expect the media, when Trump says something that's stupid, they expect that the conservative media is just going to shut up about it. You know it's stupid. I know it's stupid. Don't talk about it anymore because it only hurts the cause. Well, then tell him to shut up about it. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's not going to happen. Not one Republican wants it. Shut the hell up.
This is the first time anybody asked the question.
Yeah, that I know.
This is the first time I haven't heard anybody bring that question up.
Yeah.
Do the numbers.
Do the numbers.
Because we had the discussion about Germany and other European nations, and I made the point that, look, there are things we don't have to support them on. Are they going to be allies? Yeah. But we don't necessarily have to be friends if they're working to put people in jail for how they speak and what they post on social media. We've lost countless lives to protect free speech. One move would end all of that, and that would be Canada becoming the 51st state. So shut the F up about it.
I know it's the dumbest thing that this administration has done so far. The dumbest thing to be holding on to something that nobody in your own party wants. There isn't anybody who's making excuses for Trump that believes it's the right thing to do. That's why they're making excuses for him.
Well, how can we have an administration that's going in and cleaning house on the liberal agenda and promoting that at the same time, which would usher in the permanent liberal agenda for our lifetime?
And then on Friday, play stupid. Oh, is it liberal?
You tell me. I mean, are we getting rid of DEI in the government? Are we getting rid, or are they making military decisions based on the former liberal administration's moves? I thought they were. But this sounds like you want to trash every bit of that, set it on fire, and hand it to the Democrats for decades to come. There's no way around that. That's exactly what it does. You've already got the political will of tens of millions of people in this country to do just that. We brought you the audio of these radicals and how they're fighting for it. You usher in that kind of dominance by the liberal, Democrat, radical activists, and it's over. Say goodbye to free speech. Say goodbye to owning property eventually. Say goodbye to everything you cherish about this nation, period.
So, yeah.
Anyway, how was your weekend?
I didn't want to start with that. I just brought it up, and I mean, it's over.
Well, it's just frustrating as hell because I think of all the people who have served, all the countless lives we've given, that this nation has given, sacrificed for free speech, and you want to hand the game to the liberals?
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It's not always easy to spring back from the harsh days of winter to warmer months ahead. From de-icing chemicals to hidden debris underneath snow and ice, winter conditions can do serious damage to your truck. Here's a must-do maintenance check to help you minimize downtime and stay rolling. Make sure your fluids are at proper levels ahead of spring. Fluid is to trucks what blood is to the human body. Low fluid can be just as harmful as no fluid, and the damage this will cause to your truck is unavoidable. Pay attention to your engine oil, coolant levels, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, brake fluid, and differential fluid.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And in talking about all the Canada 51st state, as the Democratic Party is just melting down before our eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're absolutely melting down. I mean, the stuff over the weekend, we've got audio galore. You saw Bernie Sanders got up. See, gets
during the interview.
Gets triggered, gets up like he's walking out.
Yeah.
All Jonathan Karl asked him was, do you think that AOC will run for the Senate?
Right.
Well, I mean, there's more to the question. In order for her to do that, she'd have to primary Schumer.
Right. And
he's part of Schumer's team. And he goes, I'm not going to talk about it. You want to do nonsense? We'll have that audio coming up because that was hilarious. But it's just the one thing I got over the weekend is liberals are making the exact same argument that we've made for the last decade about the problem with the Democratic Party. That's the unbelievable thing. Because I'm sitting here going, well, they're stealing our stuff.
Yeah. No, they really are.
They're recognizing, but the Democratic Party itself on the federal level doesn't seem to have any incentive to change at all.
Right.
None.
Right.
I mean, you've got the incredible think about it. Who right now would go to a Bernie Sanders AOC rally? And why are they holding a rally?
Right. Yeah,
because
what would they be supporting?
Right. They're as radical as you can possibly get. I did read, there was an article that mirrored something that we've said, which is the radical transgender movement is not going away. This stuff is not going away.
Nope.
So we'll get to that and a whole bunch more coming up.
listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, here we go. You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Here's Bernie Sanders with Jonathan Karl on his ABC interview. Here we go.
Right. Back when I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people in it at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandra is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
Well, I ask you,
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense. No.
Nobody cares about your nonsense.
He brought up AOC.
You're the
You
one
brought her up.
Is she the future of the party? If so,
Right.
would she be? Do you believe she would make a good senator? It's that simple. And there's a simple answer to that. That's up to her. However, in whatever capacity she decides to serve, she's going to be great. Leave it at that.
Oh, he's so sensitive. It's like, I'm telling you, there's a civil war going on inside the Democrat Party. I thought this was really interesting. This was just a panel discussion that was going on, and the billionaire David Friedberg was a part of it, and starts talking about the Democratic Party and makes some great points. Actually, I think we've made these points separately, but I don't know if we've ever made it together. But listen to this here. Here we go.
I think the Democratic Party has split into 2 parties. There's the Democratic Party with beliefs, and there's the Democratic Party without beliefs. I think that the Democratic Party with beliefs is the one that's very far left, and their beliefs are fundamentally rooted in concepts of socialism, Marxism. Yes. And they're very clear about those beliefs, that traditional power structures need to be dismantled and assets and influence need to be commonly redistributed. The rest of the Democratic Party, which people call the moderate part of the party, actually don't really know what their beliefs are. When you talk to anyone in the Republican Party in a leadership position, you hear very clearly what their beliefs are. We saw it this week in D.C. Every member of the cabinet that we met with, and there were quite a number of them, had the exact same message and the exact same set of beliefs of what this administration stands for and what they're trying to do. You may agree with those beliefs or you may not, but they have stated their beliefs. The problem is that because the moderates in the Democratic Party have not stated a set of beliefs, a set of objectives, a vision for the country, a vision for their party, the party is effectively being represented by this part of the party that does have beliefs, the deeply socialist Marxist beliefs. And they have basically subsumed the message. And as a result, this is why people have lost interest in the Democratic Party, because the moderate aspect has not been really clear.
What's fascinating is you and I have talked about this from Democrats that we know, lifelong Democrats that we know personally. Some are acquaintances, some are family, some are lifelong friends that you never talk politics with until a few years ago, and you go, oh, I had no idea they were a liberal.
Some are former family after last Thanksgiving.
But the one thing that you and I have noticed is they don't say anything anymore.
No.
They're not on social media. They're on social media. They, during the Obama administration would talk. Then in the first Trump administration, they would be giving some things, and now they've been quiet. During Biden, they were completely quiet. And you and I find it fascinating because how many times have we said, what does the average Democrat actually think? They're not talking. They won't tell you anything. The only people that will are the people that are the most incredibly radical, Marxist, socialist, insanists.
Yeah.
I came up with that now.
Yeah.
Insanists that we've ever seen. But the problem is they're all part of, this is where I might disagree or want clarification from Mr. Friedberg, is the fact that on the federal level, the way that they vote is all radical. You may have the voter, you may have 30 or 40% of the voter trying to figure out what's going on. But right now, when you look at it, the only side that is promoting things and having rallies and bringing people into the rallies are the radicals.
Well, you heard Bernie say it in the audio cut before. When he came in on Capitol Hill, they had a few. And now they have roughly 100. I think it's actually more. I mean, if you combine the House and the Senate. And that's the thing, is that it's, tell me where the pressure is. Where's the pressure based on the votes we've seen in the House? Where's the political pressure coming from? Well, it always comes, of course, from the rank and file. We're not seeing rank and file upset about how they're voting in Congress.
No, they're quiet, but they're not upset.
Right. And it's a very radical thing. And if you say, well, they're against it, well, then it's up to them, to the rank and file, to either vote differently or be very vocal about it. I mean, the silent majority thing is still a real thing. I mean, I don't know if that's what's going on here, but we haven't heard a peep.
Well, it's sort of like Gavin Newsome doing his podcast. I'm reading here from Jack Butler, National Review. The left does not want to moderate on transgenderism. Any left-leaning politician who wants to moderate on trans issues will have to do so in defiance of the left itself. Things are weird. All I got to do is read the first sentence. Things are weird on the left when Gavin Newsome is seen as a right-wing sellout.
Yeah.
For simply stating and not acting on his apparently long-held view that allowing men to compete against women in sports is deeply unfair, and the leftists have turned on the California governor.
Yeah. It's everything. Look at the whole Schumer fallout. Between Schumer and Newsom, how dare you? We cannot allow this. You can't even speak to Steve Bannon or whoever it's going to be. Michael Savage, any of them. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? I mean, gosh, now the story came out. Sure, you saw it. It was golf related. Of Tiger's relationship with Donald Trump Jr.'s former wife. So it's, she still carries the last name Trump, or the media. I don't know if she does legally, but, so.
What I love was.
Of course, that was over for him when he played golf with Trump, right?
Well, what I loved was the response to Tiger Woods. He put it out saying, I'm paraphrasing here, but we're in love, and the love is great, and the love is whatever, forever, whatever. Yeah. Now give us our privacy. And it's like, excuse me, you just promoted something as the most incredible, as the incredible love story ever, then you told us, don't talk about it.
Well, here's the thing. and you posted a picture of you two laying down together. Now, it wasn't in bed, but they were laying down together. Look, I do a lot of the ratio of me laying down versus standing up. Oh, man, it's laying down all day. But there are no pictures of me laying down, and hopefully won't be, let alone selfies. Don't tell me to leave you alone after you made it, official to the world.
It's so funny. And promoting that, basically, now this is a love.
Yeah, right.
This is a love that you all should aspire to. I mean, that's what I got. He didn't say that, but that was the message that I got. And then it was like, now leave us alone.
Right.
Like, well, no.
And we ask for our privacy. You got a picture of you laying down together.
The paparazzi's going to go crazy. What do you mean leave you alone? I'm not going to leave you alone.
Right. You just invited them. That's what that was. It wasn't a wedding invitation. It was a paparazzi invitation.
I know.
You might as well post your schedule. At 6:40 a.m., we'll be going for coffee. It's I love that. It's that's kind of a Harry and Meghan move.
But I thought
we want to be left alone. And don't forget our new Netflix show and book is out right now. You can log on.
But I thought the David Friedberg comment was really, really interesting, that there's two sides of the Democratic Party. The radicals that want to promote everything and the moderates that don't believe in anything. And that if you listen to the show, we've said this. What do they believe? What does the rank and file voter believe?
Right.
We know a lot of them don't agree with the members of Congress, but the members of Congress, just on the radical transgender movement itself and the misogyny that exists there and the identity politics, the racism of identity politics, there's going to be a ton of people that call themselves Democrats and in 2025 are going to look at that and say, are you nuts?
Yeah.
Why are you promoting racism? It was sad to see that Mia Love, the former congresswoman from Utah, died yesterday of glioblastoma. That's such a terrible brain cancer. You saw that Neil Peart's brother from Rush died last week of that also.
Yeah.
They both died of glioblastoma. Wow.
Right. Yeah.
I've never paid a lot of attention to that particular disease, but
I don't know if
there
it's
a genetic?
familial or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was, but
certainly tragic for that family.
Mia Love was one of the black conservatives that the Democrats had no problem throwing racism at her on identity politics and racism at her. Remember, what was that headline? Is she really black or whatever?
She appears to be black, but she's actually red, and this kind of basically saying she's not really black. And, we talked about it then for a while because, it's interesting too, because as you mentioned, it's a very sad situation for any family to have to go through this. I mean, she passed away with her family at her home with her family there surrounding her, and they were there celebrating her life and everything else. And I just can't imagine as we all get older, we all experience moments like that, quite unfortunately. But what she did, what she endured when she was serving, the liberal media and the headlines did go out of their way. I saw a couple of them. First black female to serve in Congress, and I thought to myself, a Republican in Congress, and I thought, the liberal media didn't go out of their way to do that then. Well, no, because they couldn't have that. That wasn't part of the agenda when she was serving. The point is, she wasn't about identity politics. She was about serving as a conservative. And did that. And it wasn't about identity politics for the people supporting her.
No.
I didn't live in her district, but I supported a lot of what she fought for. And those are the things that, the left just can't have. And I was surprised that they actually even made that note in announcing her death. And I thought, I guess since she's no longer in power and no longer around.
Well, there's a problem if you have a significant portion of people that used to be vocal and aren't saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
It means they have questions about their own party, and that's not good. And the Democratic Party right now is a nightmare.
Well, we've said it often, whatever they accuse you, and the administration is repeating this now, whatever they accuse you of being, turn it around.
Yeah.
Because that's who they are.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, one of the themes of the show, liberals are now using the arguments that you and I have been using for over a decade. And many other conservatives have been using for over a decade. We'll get to that. Plus, the reporters talking to students at spring break.
All right. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. You see, Tim Walz comes out. Oh, I really didn't mean what I said about Elon Musk.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
We were there.
I really wasn't cheering that the stock goes down. I was just kidding.
No, you made a thing about it on stage.
Oh, my gosh. And I think another poll was out, and Kamala still leads for the Democrats.
All right. Can't wait. Well, look, maybe she'll get a wall built.
That was one of the best moments we had during the campaign when she announced on that. It was like on a Sunday, right? And then Monday was official. It was like it had to be by Tuesday. They had the ad ready.
Yeah.
That Trump wasn't serious on the border, and she was.
Right.
And she was going to build that wall. And it was you and I look at each other saying, do they actually believe anybody's going to buy this?
Right. Are they on drugs or am I on drugs?
Yes, on drugs here.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
As always, we appreciate it.
We do.
All right, so stuff that happened from the media over the weekend that, you and I shaking our heads. But let's go to Bill Maher with Ezra Klein, the Democrat who wrote the book on the fact that regulations and taxes are killing the Democrats, and he's a Democrat. Plus, he had Andrew Sullivan on. Andrew Sullivan, many liberal views and a couple of conservative views. I still call him a conservative. I say, okay, not really. He is in some areas, but I think he's more liberal than conservative. Mm-hmm. But just listen to the talk here. Listen to the discussion going on here about COVID. I mean, you would think, I don't know, like we're in a different world. I mean, we are in a different world than we were back then, but still, you and I went through it. Remember what we were all going through 5 years ago right now. Everything was being shut down. Everything. Mm-hmm. Here's this discussion. Here we go.
Questions. Andrew, what do you think of news that British intelligence knew COVID was a lab leak in 2020 and officially ignored their report?
Not just knew, 80 to 95% certainty. Same with the German intelligence service. March 2020. There's a new book out called COVID's Wake. I was reading it this last couple of weeks, and the core paper that killed off any idea that this was a lab leak in China, the proximal origin paper, which was produced with Fauci and Collins of the NIH and NIAID helping it along, was a lie, a conscious lie, that the people who looked at it, we now have their emails, are saying in the very first days of looking at the virus, this looks very man-made to us. This is so friggin' obvious this is man-made. Well, so friggin' obvious, one of them said. And then they wrote the report saying there is no evidence that this was made in a lab. The question is why? Why would they lie to us about that? And they did.
Well, I can give you one answer, the New York Times. The New York Times said any questioning of this being from a lab was racist, which always struck me as odd because it seems much more racist to go, wow, these people are eating bats.
I know.
I mean, it's just one example, but a good example of why people lost faith in the left, because they do stupid things like that. Not to be an I told you so, but from the very beginning, I was saying this shouldn't even be political, but it's at least a 50-50 it came from the lab, and that in 50 years, I can't imagine people going, wait, you mean in 2020, there was this thing that escaped from a lab in Wuhan, that started in Wuhan, and there was a lab in Wuhan that was studying it, and they didn't think that was connected, and they blamed it on bats? Really? It just doesn't make any sense.
It makes a little bit more sense.
You can gaslight people so easily.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
and listen to the audience. There was no booing.
No.
When he
No.
said that Fauci and Collins knew it and lied, there was no booing, nothing.
Yeah, on that, on COVID, the Karen reign has ended. She's been ushered out. Because that's what really was driving the left. It was a lot of, as it quite or most often is, virtue signaling. I'm wearing 3 masks. Remember the people that wore multiple masks all at once?
Yes.
Seriously. You're only wearing 3? I'm wearing 900. I put my head in cement.
I do remember the people with the double masks on.
Much to my wife's approval, have cemented my mouth shut. I mean, it was insane, and you would get it everywhere. You have a mask? This is where it began. We're reserving those for healthcare work. Are you a healthcare worker? No, but I have a genetic lung disease.
That's where we were right now on March 24th, 2000.
No,
right?
Yeah, that's where we were.
We had not yet got to the you must wear a mask.
And then
it was you must not wear a mask.
And then the turnaround. It was like, I remember standing in line at the post office and someone eyeing this guy in front of me who was wearing a mask. He happened to be older, and he was wearing a mask. And the lasers coming from this person's eyes to that man, and it was early on. You're basically wasting all the masks. And then it feels like I was in that same line by the time because it was the post office. By the time I got up to the front of the line, because it was the post office, they were screaming at people not wearing masks.
That was a long line.
Well, it was the post office.
Was that before the Musk efficiency came in?
Exactly. So it was insanity, and of course it's virtue signaling. Who made the point the other day? It's a comedian or somebody. Bleaching your groceries before you brought them into the house. All that ridiculousness. I knew people who would come in and then take all their clothes off that they wore when they were outside of the house, immediately put them in the laundry while wearing gloves. It was insane because the agenda required it to be. The agenda required people to be in absolute fear. I don't have any doubt, by the way, that some of those individuals were living in fear. I don't have any doubt whatsoever that they actually were, because they bought hook, line, and sinker into the agenda.
Yeah.
That the agenda, that's the basis of it. You've got to get people scared out of their wits, and you can't stop. And the problem is, the further we got into it, it was like, okay, we were learning the effects because, as a species, we're pretty good at assessing our own risk, most of us. And we know, all right, more harmful to old folks, like with pretty much every other virus, not nearly as harmful to children. So we'll assess our own risks. And as we went through that, the agenda required more fear, because as people started, and Florida started opening up again, eventually Texas opened up again. You look at, and it was like, oh, no. Now we've got to make it right versus left, because the right will kill you. Goes back to the late Ed Schultz. Republicans want you to die. Remember that whole thing.
Yeah, they want to make money off your dead
corpse.
But as we stated, no, the only ones that wanted to make money off the dead was the leftists in the government that wanted more money from the estate tax.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And they needed to keep the fear going. And then what happens? Inevitably, you pull in the medical community. But where is the medical community and where have they always been? Well, these folks wear masks a lot and did before COVID and have done since. Why? Because it's kind of their thing. They have to protect people who are sick in their building. It's part of their job. But you get, a massive group of people. There was some pushback, by the way, from some in the medical community because of what was going on. But, we talk about Bashara and others, all of these others, doctors who were saying, wait a minute, can we have a discussion? And the answer was no. The answer was, we'll shut you down and we'll punish you for that and take away your livelihood and everything. And that nearly happened.
And remember, the pushback became official in October of 2020. It wasn't in April, wasn't in May.
Right.
I mean, even though people were starting to question it, the official response came in October. They knew.
Yep.
They knew. They all believed it was the lab leak, including Fauci and Collins, and they attempted to destroy the reputation of doctors that said everything we're doing is wrong.
Right. And it was long after that, and I forget which liberal activist media it was, New York Times or Washington Post, and it was, well, the consensus is in. It clearly did not come from a lab. Yeah. It was long after that. And remember, Jon Stewart on his buddy's show, Stephen Colbert, and he just laid it out. I mean, Bill Maher says he did it. I don't remember what Bill Maher did because he's so inconsistent on a number of things. It's kind of hard to know. It's hard to remember, at least. And those are the things that, we looked at back then. Most people understood how you approach this, how you're going to deal with this. But when you looked at the global practice of what the liberals were controlling at that time, they almost had it. They almost had everybody, and then all of a sudden, they didn't.
Well, when you had Bill Maher now, when you had Andrew Sullivan's, talking about, why did they do this? He goes, why? Because the New York Times called it racist. No, that wasn't why they did it.
No.
That was their attempt to keep you from discussing it, but
Right.
That's not why they did it. So he was off there. You look at it and you say, you and I've always looked at it and said, who was making money off of Chinese industries that had associations with the Chinese Communist Party?
Right. Exactly.
I guess that would be the question you would have if you're going to follow the money trail, because what is the reason? Well, we don't want to upset China.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
I mean, upset. You're looking for the truth, and they did everything. And we said this early on. We said there is no curiosity from any, and there still isn't today, from any Democrat. I mean, now they're all jumping aboard. Not all, but a lot are jumping aboard and criticizing it. But they don't want to get to the heart of the matter. Why? Right. And this came straight from the White House. Why did the White House, the Biden White House, not want you to know the truth?
Right.
And it could be, you could look at it and go, because Hunter Biden. You could say, well, the other reason is we use so much taxpayer money for gain of function, and therefore we could partly be blamed ourselves for trusting the Chinese, our adversaries, with our taxpayer dollars that went for gain of function research, which is why it came from a lab.
Yeah. And it could also be all the above.
Could be all of the above, yeah.
Remember, China claimed through their state-run media, as I call it, CNN, that, we had very few illnesses and deaths because we shut down for so long. I think they're just now opening up. I mean, it's, but of course that wasn't the case. No. It's just that they didn't report any deaths.
Yeah.
Wasn't it insane at some point they were reporting, we don't have any people that died. Right. Yeah. That's a Harry Reid type approach.
Yeah, that wasn't the case because as we found out, everybody was exposed to the virus.
Well, some of the original
right.
I mean, early on we knew because the original lab workers became sick.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of them succumbed to the virus. Everybody knows this, and nobody believes, not that we're supposed to believe what China's trying to sell, but that's the whole point. Why are we protecting China? Hunter?
866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Independents with carrier authority should be mindful that negotiation strength varies as the week progresses. Typically, the highest rates across major segments are paid for loads negotiated on Sundays, and the highest volume of loads for all segments is seen on Mondays. Also, the weekday that tends to be the best for flatbed negotiations, yielding the best rates. Owner-operators tend to have less negotiation strength on Tuesday, which shows the lowest weekday spread between brokers' offered rates and actual paid rates. Broker offers tend to rise by Wednesday as the end of the week is in sight. This day also seems optimal for the 3 o'clock hustle, so called for its reliance on that afternoon time of day, when brokers are getting nervous, to improve negotiation strength. Stay mindful of this system to maximize your revenue. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome in. Good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. As always, it's going to be another interesting week, as it always is.
Yeah,
we'll get to coming up on the bottom of the hour. We'll get to Tom Homan. We'll hear what kids are saying on spring break, what they know about the government. Rand Paul looking to claw back $500 billion, and says we can do it. It's one of the things that we had the discussion over the weekend with in our group text about about the weak spots and the strong spots of the Trump administration, and of course glowing accolades for illegal immigration. Again, the concern is the economy.
Yeah,
that's the one concern, and every single Republican that I talked to over the weekend, and probably it was 7 or 8 of them. I was out and about actually doing things, but even in the group text, say the same thing. That's the one thing they're concerned with, as the Democrats are just melting away. And that's one of the concerns. The Democrats don't have anything. Let's not do anything to give them any ammunition.
Right.
And so what that means from Republicans, you'd have to ask each one specifically what they mean by that. But I got that same message over the weekend. Even though they support the reciprocal tariffs and all that stuff, they're still worried about the economy. And they're still worried about whether Congress will do the pro-growth tax cuts. We've heard nothing.
Right.
They're off again, from what I heard. They're off again. They're off in April. Yeah. And one of the concerns was, the House hasn't done anything. The thing is, the big victory, and conservatives are starting to see this. The big victory for the House, where Mike Johnson, the accolades, he got it through. He goes, what did he get through?
More of the same.
It's more of the same. We got the victory is that we did more spending in the CR bill, and we're being told there's all this easy stuff to cut without anybody suffering whatsoever, and nothing's getting done on that.
Well, they're taking a victory lap for nothing, over nothing. Look, I do nothing all the time. If we get to do a victory lap based on that, I'm going to take a few of them. But think about this. The implosion for the Democrats in the Senate over Chuck Schumer, a continuing resolution, not an abortion bill, but a continuing resolution. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Republicans are taking a victory lap over the same nothing. Nothing happened.
And that was starting to make its way on social media over the weekend from conservatives.
Well, it's interesting because I did
let's
see
not
the story.
Let's not get too excited.
Some of the Republicans back in their district, at local meetings, and it's like their constituents are not happy. I mean, Democrats have their hands full at their meetings, local meetings, for different reasons, but the Republicans, this is a problem for again, relatively few conservatives of us that are still out here. We're still screaming. Nothing's been done yet.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. This was the best answer that Trump gave to anything over the weekend. This is Friday. This is the absolute best answer.
Yeah, all right.
Wonderful answer. Incredible answer. When he's asked if he has the authority to get rid of gang members, illegal immigrant gang members. Right, here we go.
Do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because we were, unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable? Have open borders where millions of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and totally unchecked, just as you would say. And many of those people were criminals. Many of them were from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members and drug dealers and very dangerous people. Many were murderers. We have 11,088 that we know of murders they murdered. Of that number, at least half killed more than one person. They're in our country. They're in a location near you. Biden allowed that to happen to our country. And his people that really ran the country. And the person that operated the auto pen, I think we ought to find out who that was, because I guess that was the real president. So when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country? Many of these people hardened criminals.
Yeah, I loved that answer. I was watching that.
Perfect answer.
And,
perfect.
And because that turns it around to the reporter, which, by the way, she seemed totally, that's a clueless question. It's one of those clueless questions. It means you know nothing about the law. But the way he turned it around, well, did Biden have the authority to open the border and just let criminals in? And I thought it was a great answer. Thought it was a great response. I also liked his demeanor during that, because that was part of the whole F-47 press conference when they were announcing that, and Boeing and everything else, and Pete Hegseth was there. But it's light years away from where we were with Biden. Remember, anytime they made an announcement with Biden in the room, they had to corral the reporters out of there before they started asking questions. Trump lets them ask questions on anything and everything. He could have said, hey, we're here talking about the Boeing announcement and the F-47 and the Air Force. But that's not who he is. He doesn't care what the question is. He's going to respond to it, and he did. And, we said in the first term, sometimes he talks to the media to a fault. He just kind of goes on and on as he's about to board Marine One or something. But in this second term so far, he's been, I think, very level in most answers. Later in that conversation, he started talking about the 51st state thing with Canada, and that's where I had a concern. But it's light years as to where we are compared to the last administration. Biden, they had to protect Biden. We all know. We knew it then. All of us who are critical thinkers, we knew what was going on with Biden. And the media wanted to pretend like it wasn't happening. Remember the one thing that they did? And they said, hey, everybody, outside we have fireworks. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But President Trump takes it head on, and in this instant, turned it around and said, authority. Well, yeah, that's what the law says. Let's talk about authority. Did Biden have the authority to open the border? He neglected his duty as president, and we all know why.
With no consultation from because that's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best answer that he could give, because
it covers everything.
It covers everything. What you're saying is that I need congressional or judicial approval to do this, yet Biden didn't need judicial approval to allow all these illegal immigrants and give them temporary status in the United States based on nothing. We didn't know it. We had a process set up. Did he have the authority to do that? You didn't ask that question at that time.
You're not asking the question, does a district judge have authority on this?
Exactly,
that's
right.
It was which is why I said it's a clueless question. And you come off as somebody who's just absolutely ignorant on how the law works.
And Tom Homan was on this week. Here's how he responded to a couple of questions.
I want to start with something you said last week that caused a big stir. You said, I quote, I don't care what judges think. Now, I know you have since said that the administration will abide by court orders. We heard Donald Trump say the same thing. So what do you mean when you say, I don't care what judges think?
No, I don't care what that judges think. As far as this case, we're going to continue to arrest public safety threats and national security threats. We're going to continue to deport them from the United States. I understand this case is in litigation through the Alien Enemies Act, and we'll abide by the court order as litigated. But my quote was, despite what he thinks, we're going to keep targeting the worst of the worst, which we've been doing since day one, and deporting from the United States through the various laws on the books. We're not making this up. The Alien Enemies Act was actually a federal law. It's a statute enacted by Congress and signed by a president. Now, that's under litigation. But put that aside, we still have Title VIII authority to remove illegal aliens from the United States, and we're going to continue to concentrate on those who are the biggest threat to our communities, the public safety threats.
There you go.
Yeah, it's and I mean, that's it. This is what I also love about Homan. We've talked about his is some of the greatest audio because it's so pragmatic and to the point anytime he speaks. And we shouldn't care. I don't care what a judge thinks. I don't care I care what the law is. I care what the authority is.
Well, and that's the case he's making is we're following the law. And he's done this before where he says Congress passed the law.
Mm-hmm.
The president signed the bill. We're following that law.
Mm-hmm.
And the message is if a judge is reading it erroneously, that's on the judge.
Right.
We're going to continue to do what the people of the United States, through their elected representatives, have told us to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what law is. And he's explained that probably every time that he talks, I have seen him bring that up in a conversation, unless it's, you just see a clip where he's asked one question. It's a 30-second clip. But any interview that he does, he constantly brings that up. I'm not making up law.
Right.
This is law that was passed by Congress.
Right.
It's the will of the people, and we're following the law. Biden didn't follow the law.
See, this is what happens. The liberal activist media, like all liberals, got into the mindset of not having a leader. When you don't have a leader, well, you don't have laws. They don't believe in the laws. They shouldn't exist. Well, we don't believe the Senate should exist. We don't believe the Electoral College should exist. So in their mind, they just kind of throw it all out. The law, we don't care what the law is. A judge said this. The judge doesn't have the authority in this case. And it doesn't matter what the judge thinks. The law is the law. And they're bound. Biden didn't think this. Clearly, the left doesn't think this. but they're bound by the Constitution to follow the law. And the judges don't care about that. Clearly, they're activist judges. We know that. And they don't have the authority here. But I haven't seen anybody be able to even come close to shutting Homan down in the media. I haven't seen anybody. Because he's straight to the point. There's zero fat. The problem has been in the past with people in the Republican Party or in Republican administrations that would do the whole activist liberal media dance. Well, let me explain and blah, 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 blah. And then they just add all of these words as they're trying to set up their point. Get straight to the point. Because once you start to hem-haw, they're going to shut you down. And we've seen it time after time after time. They all do it. It is the only practice at the Sunday morning news shows. These people are angry, very angry activists from the left. And they just jump on any opening. Don't give them an opening. Homan doesn't give you an opening. He tells you the facts. Boom, there it is. And by the way, he lays it out in such a clear, as a matter of fact, tone. It's one of the reasons they can't come at him. He's laying it down. They can't debate it. He lays down the facts. They can't debate it. We see that a lot with this administration. It's very refreshing because it, again, is much different than what we've seen from the GOP in the past. And I'm grateful that that part, at least for now, in the GOP is over. I do wish that those in the House would get their stuff together. I do wish we would have more that I thought they were doing pretty good. I think for the most part, they're still pretty good surrogates for the president. But on messaging, they're still not hitting the ball the way they used to be hit.
On the CR, I mean, we talked about conservatives now asking the question, is there actually going to be cuts? Remember, the president backed the CR
right.
without, with a $10 billion increase.
Right.
So everybody in the Republican Party was behind that.
Right.
So and what they're saying is, don't worry, we're going to do it.
Well, you and I asked from the get-go because we said right away, okay, now what's going to happen down when we get down to the actual action? Because if the message is, hey, we'll give you a chance to fight your fight down the road. Just get the CR done and get it behind us, and we'll do everything else through reconciliation. What happens when there's that fight? Because the numbers and the makeup of Congress isn't going to change between now and then.
No. And every Democrat's going to vote against it.
Right.
So you're going to need all the votes you can possibly get.
Yep.
But you don't see a lot of promotion. You've seen a lot of, not recently. They're not, you don't hear what, $5,000 everybody's going to get back. And
that's kind of gone away.
We're saving $4 billion a day right now.
Right.
You don't hear that because that's the natural reaction from Republican conservatives are, all right, well, then that means we can cut without hurting anybody.
Right.
This should be easy. Rand Paul brought it up over the weekend, though.
Yeah.
He won't let it. He's not letting it go.
Right. Well, because, again, that could have been a gift. They didn't utilize it. We don't know why. Schumer didn't utilize that. And I think, again, it comes back to putting the cheese on the burger too soon.
Oh. And the other, I just thought of this here, just popped into my head. The other 80-20 issue over the weekend was on food stamps, should you be able to get soda pop?
Yeah, right.
And the left, absolutely. People have a right to have their choice of what they wish. And it's like, no, your choice ends when you say, I need money to buy food.
They're the ones that want to put a massive tax on sugary drinks.
I know. It's the most bizarre thing, and I'm like...
And because who does that affect? They'll tell you, well, the poor, and then they have poor health, so we should put a soda tax on. Okay, great. And we should also take that out of the food stamp eligibility. No!
Don't take away free will.
Exactly.
Well, when somebody's giving you money, they can put conditions on it.
Yep, they can.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. Coming up following the top of the hour, I'm reading this headline here, CBS kicks the UFO habit, talking about that all the drones and everything else and all the stuff with UFOs. And it's like, they knew they were all drones.
Yeah.
It was funny because I'd mentioned that last week. I don't know how we got on the discussion on it, but we were talking about, Project Blue Book back in the 60s, I think early 70s too. And it was like, it was all government, secret government airplanes that were that were flying up there. And now they're saying, well, that's really what's been going on now too. The government has no problem if people want to think that it's extraterrestrial craft.
Well, anything that gets them away from any, obviously government secrets that would drive the media to ask more questions about what they're developing. You need the little green men.
And the latest Texas versus California when it comes to job creation. Really interesting.
Hey, is Greg Abbott going to be on Newsome's podcast anytime soon? I'd love that.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, he's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning, welcome. So just something that happened. Well, I thought about it over the weekend. Well, not really a big deal, but just to show you that I got a little sticker shock. So we're all doing our spring cleaning. And over the last couple of weeks, we've had incredible wins. Just incredible wins. Yeah. So the pool, even though it's, clean, leaves in it, the leaves just went crazy. The leaves, and you're getting dust, because we had dust storms. Mm-hmm. So there was dust, and you could see the dust, settling down. Well, I have one of the lithium-ion batteries, floor crawlers for my pool. Mm-hmm. And I got it because the other ones that attach to the hose, they're just too much of a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. They really are. So what I have is I've got hooked up to the hose. I have a vacuum that I can do it, and I may do that during the summer once a week. But all the other times I have this little crawler, and it does it for about 90 minutes. Goes through my entire pool, and it actually picks up a bunch of stuff. It cost me $160. And so I know that there's the more fancy ones that are like $800, some are $1,200. But I'm like, I don't need that. This thing does what I want, and something, this thing could wear out every year for the next 10 years, and I still wouldn't be spending what I would for a good one. So I keep seeing this commercial on about this new one out there, and it tracks well. It clarifies the pool. I'm like, okay, what the hell does that mean? It does this, and it actually will float to the top and skim the top of your pool. Oh. And I went, wow, that'd be really interesting. Wow. Okay, let me check this out. Let me see how much it costs. Let me go. $3,500.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, no,
$3,500.
Right.
And I'm thinking the top end, okay, maybe this is the 12th. I still would not have gotten it for $1,200.
Right.
Because I don't need it. I mean, it's not necessary. Once you get by, because for us, the leaves fall all winter long and spring is just a mess of leaves here. But once they clear out, I don't have to do anything to the, I got the little, net skimmer, and I may throw that, once a day for 30 seconds, clear anything out of the pool.
Right. Right now, it's the live oak leaves that fall in the spring.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, and then all the green dust.
Oh.
And then the red dust from West Texas, as you mentioned.
Thank goodness I got rid of all my live oaks. They're all gone.
Half of Lubbock moved into town, but not one person. It was all dirt.
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. In fact, in the front yard, I saw a manhole cover. It said City of Lubbock.
You should have seen the morning that after the last one, and I was out riding my bike the night before.
Yeah.
And as I'm riding my bike, I'm like, what's hitting my headlight? It was all the dust.
Oh, yeah.
It was still all the dust from the dust storm that we had. This was last week. And as I'm driving, or I'm riding my bike, my headlight, you can see the film on all the vehicles.
We were going to see my dad
storm
that morning. I think it's probably that same morning, but we were on the road, and it was like the dust hasn't even settled yet. We're just driving through this fog of dust, and we've had 2 of those so far.
I know.
And typically we'll get 1 or 2 a year, but we've had 2 like in the last 2 weeks. So.
And when you look up and it's just it looked like Mars. It looked like I was living on Mars.
No, it did. If you looked outside, it was really, really just creepy looking. It really was. I remember that day. I was like, well, I'm glad I don't have to do anything outside today, because honestly, I don't know how you do. You'd have to wear an N95 mask, and how dare you? Those are for healthcare.
I mean, it's settled in my pool, and it's still settling, because I had my pool completely cleaned by Friday. I looked at it. I could see more film on the pool bottom. I'm like, wow, it's still in the air.
Right. Yeah. No, what was it? I guess it was Friday. I went out to clean up some of the stuff, and I was out there pretty much all day, probably, 6 or 7 hours, but started early in the morning. But it's that dry time of year, and with all the leaves and the dirt and everything else, and we haven't had any rain.
Yeah.
And everything is just, I'm bagging up. I had like 6 bags of leaves, large bags. After they were mulched, they were 6 bags. And it didn't look like that much, but I put my mower on bag instead of mulch, because I wanted to clean up the lawn. I didn't want, too much of that mixed in. And so here we are 6 or 7 hours later, and I'm just covered, in this grimy dirt, dust, and everything else. Not a fan of this time of year. I don't really have a lot of spring allergies, but dust, that's going to get to you no matter who you are. And I had to rinse off for an hour.
That was my sticker shock.
Yeah.
And the sticker shock doesn't come that it's expensive. It comes from, what is the return on the investment for $3,500?
Right.
I'm like, no, $160, I can justify it.
Yeah. I have a family member who hires someone that comes out for her pool, and I don't know that she pays $3,500 for the whole year, because in Texas you don't need them for the whole year.
No. Well, for me, with the saltwater pool, you don't have to do anything. I mean, during the wintertime, we don't close our pools. You can, but most people don't.
Right.
And so you put chlorine in, and you put it up to, because I don't run my chlorine generator during the winter. I have a saltwater pool, and it produces the chlorine through the salt. Salt, NaCl, right? Yeah. Yeah. Sodium chloride.
Yeah. Okay.
And it makes a salt-based chlorine through electrolysis. And so, but it doesn't do it if the water's under 50 degrees. So I just don't use it. I add chlorine during the winter, but you add chlorine, it lasts a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the sun's not on it. Now, as we get into April, it's like, okay, here we go. The sun's going to be higher in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
The temperature's going to be in the 80s now. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I got to start paying attention. But still, the chemicals I use, you check it once a week, and it's really easy. I use the strips to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have kids in and out of the
no,
pool.
I don't know. No.
When we had our pool, it's a full-time job. It's every day.
Right. And if, like I said, if I had a big party, I just make sure that I shocked everything afterwards. And
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be
It's
okay.
easy. Once you get into the routine, it's not really, I didn't consider it to be work, but I rarely swam because I was always working on the pool.
Well, the thing that because before I got into the business of rescuing cats because they wouldn't go away, people would say, well, you don't have a pet. And I went, yeah, I do. What are you talking about? I said, the pool. I go, it's living.
Living, breathing.
It's living, breathing, and multiplying.
Yeah.
Sometimes
has ducks.
My duck is back.
You have a duck?
The same duck.
Yeah.
It's the same duck. I couldn't believe it.
You found to get the duck out?
No, it's laid its eggs again in my yard.
Oh.
Laid
no,
again.
this is that time. By the way.
Yep.
Oh. Also the time when rabbits will put baby rabbits in your lawn.
Yeah.
And you've really got to be careful. Yeah, you've really got to.
I ran over one once with my lawnmower.
Well, that same family member I just mentioned about the pool, she has a sizable dog, and he apparently had a rabbit for lunch, and then it didn't agree with him. Yeah.
So what happened was last year I got this duck that laid its eggs right next to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And, and once the eggs were laid, I wasn't going to destroy the eggs.
Right.
So it's like, okay, let's let this thing go. And so when all the chicks hatched, they jumped in the pool a couple of times, but not a lot. And then they all went up. They all went out, and next day there were 8, came back with 5, then 3, then none.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found out when the last one was gone, none survived. And when none survived, then it was still like May, because this is the earliest a duck's ever laid its eggs in my yard, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you got to May, I mean, within an hour of that last, chick gone, it's the most violent thing I've ever seen as the males go after the fertile female after the chicks are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was in the middle of it. These things were, I mean, it was an attack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And they pulled a bunch of feathers off both sides of the duck.
Yeah.
That's how I know it's the same duck.
Yeah.
So there I am 3 weeks ago, and I hear, quack, 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 quack. I go, that sounds like that duck that used to come around last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it would call for me, and I'd come out, and it would, walk towards me till about, 5 or 6 feet and quack at me.
Yeah.
I go, okay, the duck got used to me, knows I'm not. And he was the same damn duck. I could tell by the wounds on both sides.
Yeah.
The duck came back, and it comes walking up to me again. I'm like, this is the most bizarre thing ever. It really, really is.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our neighborhood parks, we have ducks and everything else. We have geese and everything, but they really stick together because we have large predatory birds in that go after ducks.
Oh.
And owls, bald eagles will go after ducks.
Oh, yeah, we've got them all.
There's a bald eagle cam out of California, friends of Big Bear Valley cam, and they've been nesting with their 2 eaglets, male and female eagles, but they're bringing to eat. They bring fish and ducks. And I told my wife, I said, I bet the duck cam is pretty sad right now because, it's brutal. Nature is brutal.
Well, and then last year, the duck laid another 6 eggs after the first 8.
Yeah.
None of those survived.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean,
none of those survived
you
at
look
all.
at-
And you're just like, and
you-
then you see the duck again this year.
right.
And she came around with another male. I go,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I said, do they do it this early? I mean, do they reproduce this? Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
I didn't know because normally it was May,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden it's March, and I'm like, okay. But she laid all of her eggs, and she's sitting on it, and I'll walk up. She doesn't move. She doesn't get scared.
No,
nothing.
no,
I don't.
no.
I don't touch her, but I don't want to
Yeah.
get that close.
Yeah.
But just here we go again.
Yeah. Well, I have to walk my lawn now. Anytime I did it on Friday, because year before last, my next door neighbor, I watched the rabbit. I actually recorded it on my phone. The mama rabbit dig the hole and everything, and I was like, so I told my neighbor. I said, just be careful. Tell your lawn guy. She has a lawn guy. Tell your lawn guy to be careful in that spot out there. I think she put a little marker flag near it, so he'd know. But you know, it's that time of year, and I've been watching for coyotes in my neighborhood. They're everywhere, but haven't seen one in my lawn. There was a female hanging out in my front lawn a few times over the last year when I pulled up, year and a half, and I haven't seen them yet, but they'll be back. I mean, because their prey is everywhere.
So now we're hitting the 80s, and I'm back to Buffalo to see Dad Friday night, and it's going to be the high of 40 and a low of 38.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
just when I get used to it.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for the warm weather. I love getting out.
Yeah, I've had enough of winter.
Yeah.
I'd rather right now, this is the time I'd rather have 105 than 35.
Yep. Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. All right, so spring break's going on, right?
Right.
So you've got you've got these. I'm assuming they're conservative because you don't see liberals ever doing this. Conservatives out there with microphones talking to the students on the beach about what they know.
Right.
Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Here we go.
In the Revolutionary War? It was, I don't know if this is right. I mean, it sounds so stupid. Was it the Spanish?
Wait, what are your majors?
Business? Biology.
Okay.
Elementary education.
Oh. What shape is the U.S. Pentagon building?
Isn't it just a square?
How many U.S. senators are there?
6, 7. 2 for each state.
How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights?
There's a lot. I know 17.
Who won the Civil War?
Oh, shoot, it's East or West, right?
Well, it's the Civil War, so it's the civilians versus whoever was in power.
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
Justices. So, like when you say that, like, you mean like the FBI?
Who is on the $100 bill?
Oh, I know that.
Abraham Lincoln?
Nope.
Abraham Lincoln? Come on, bro.
That's the First Amendment. What's the second?
Right to vote?
Name.
We're so doomed. It's over.
Wow.
You know what? Okay, fine. Canada can be the 51st state. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. Whatever. I don't care. Let Mexico be the 52nd. I don't care. Bring in Venezuela. I don't care. It's over.
Ukraine, 54th.
Fine. North Korea, 53. Let's go.
These are all college students.
One of them is going to be teaching children. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Elementary education.
I knew.
Shouldn't you have one first?
I knew the answers. I knew the answers to those questions.
Yeah.
Probably when I was 10 years old.
Well, I graduated from Schoolhouse Rock. I really didn't go to school, but I did watch Schoolhouse Rock. I mean, it was common knowledge. Things were you wouldn't have had a purpose for this kind of man on the street approach.
Well, the thing is, they wouldn't even understand my favorite Rodney Dangerfield joke of all time. I tell you, my ancestors got no respect. My great-grandfather fought for the Civil War. He fought for the West. And that guy actually said it was fought between the East and West.
East and West, yeah. Right.
So you can't even understand a Rodney Dangerfield joke anymore.
Well,
because they have no idea. Second Amendment, the right to vote. Asia is a state that borders Canada.
East Coast, West Coast was between the rappers. Not the Civil War.
Not the rap Civil War.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
What is wrong with people? Seriously.
The U.S. Pentagon.
Yeah.
Is square.
What shape is it? What shape is the Pentagon building? It's a square, isn't it?
Revolutionary War.
Oh, my God.
Who did America declare independence from?
Yeah.
Spain.
Yeah. And now I would love the follow-up. Who did you vote for? Who did you vote for?
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Because remember the liberal activist media. Well, highly educated voters. Blah blah blah. Hey, have you seen this?
Well, that's the one question. We'll get to some of those audio cuts over the weekend. You're getting rid of the Department of Education, and grades are horrible. Yeah, we're wasting money in a bureaucracy.
Right. Yeah.
And you're trying to make the case. I know Rand Paul got into a discussion on that over the weekend. You're trying to make this case that more money means greater education.
Right.
You can't make that.
No.
You can't make that case.
No, you can't.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
We're actually to that point. And what helped that along was the Democrats being able to tax but not spend money for broadband.
DEI.
Exactly.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Interesting because we had talked earlier about that the billionaire. Oh, was it Friedberg? I just can't remember his first name. Who was part of a podcast and said, from what he sees, there's two sides of the Democratic Party right now. The one that has beliefs, which is Marxist, communist, whatever. They're the ones that are out, the Bernie Sanders out there with AOC and promoting stuff. He says, and then the so-called moderate wing that stands for nothing. They don't even know where they stand on any issue. And I found that fascinating because I do view that the Democratic Party on the national level is as radical left as you can get. But you and I talked about how people we know that are Democrats and have been lifelong Democrats, and we've articulated this many times, they won't say anything anymore. They don't talk. You can't get out of them where they stand on the issues. They hate Trump, but they can't even articulate it. Here's an example. This is a Democrat that was wearing a Bernie Sanders T-shirt at the Bernie Sanders AOC rallies over the last few days. Here we go.
Do I want to get Elon Musk out of politics? Yeah, the world's richest man, the most influential in history, is now calling the shots.
What has he done that really bothers you?
He's arrogant, drugged up, naive.
60 years, USAID, billions of dollars. Do you think it made an impact in the world?
Can't answer the question.
No.
Has no answer. Is furious, but what's he upset about Elon Musk? He's arrogant and drug-fueled.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yep. They have nothing.
They don't
have
even
nothing
know
on the issues. They have nothing. They don't need the facts. All they need is emotion. That's it. They're clueless.
Well,
you heard the spring break respondents.
Yeah.
The Pentagon is square. God help them if they're asked Name the three branches of government.
And so you see over the last couple of days, and this is why, again, our effort will always be to get Republicans in the administration articulate everything. You don't need to exaggerate. You don't need to do anything. All you've got to do, if you want to bring up anything negative, is point at the Democrats.
Yep.
It's all you've got to do because everybody knows they're in a complete mess.
Yep.
And our advice to all Republicans is just make sure you're not the reason you self-destruct.
Yeah.
Because the public on the vast majority of issues where you stand absolutely back you. Bill Maher was talking about it with Andrew Sullivan. I can't play the audio because I got into the cursing. But and Ezra Klein, they're talking about the fact that the ridiculous thing that Elon Musk and Trump are making money by what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you want to know two guys that have lost hundreds of millions, possibly billions of dollars when it comes to Elon Musk and Trump too, when you look at their wealth.
Yep.
They've absolutely got crushed from being involved in public service. And they said it's ridiculous that Democrats are trying to make the case. These are Democrats saying it.
Yep.
That it's ridiculous that they're trying to make the case that these guys are in it to make money. He goes, you may disagree with them, but you can't make that argument.
Right.
It's like, duh. And then the media, did you sense they're getting all excited that look at the thousands of people coming out to see Bernie Sanders and AOC? Well, that doesn't affect us because we've seen it before. The number of people you can bring to a rally does not necessarily, I guess,
translate to victory.
Yes. Okay. Translate. I was going to say comport, but that's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't translate to victory at all. But it's the fact that the talk has been that, think about this, the talk has been, and it's still there and it's not dying down, Schumer has to go.
Yeah.
And who's going to replace Schumer? AOC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's exciting the base of the Democratic Party. And Republicans are saying, really? That's what you want to do? Well, then go do it.
Right.
Here's part of the discussion on CNN over the weekend. And this is Shermichael Singleton, the Republican strategist, on with the panel. Here we go.
Look, I welcome this AOC and Bernie Sanders being at the forefront in politics. Contrast as a currency of victory. I welcome debating the fact that they advocate for economic socialism over capitalism. I advocate for the fact that they want a very socialist, cultural America, that most Americans are saying some of these ideals are too far to the left for the vast majority of us. Republicans will win every single time. Democrats tried this playbook before with Bernie Sanders. They elevated AOC before. It did not work well electorally for them. So if this is the direction that they're going to go in, I welcome it, Dan.
Yeah.
Because that's where they're going.
Right.
Schumer has to go. Nobody can agree with anything that that Trump says. I wonder whether one of the reasons that Bernie was so agitated is because he was asked, has Trump done anything good? And he's pro-terror, Bernie Sanders.
Right, yeah.
So the fact that he even agreed with Trump on anything.
Right.
Can't do that.
That'll put you in the spotlight.
Can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that. No. He said it. It was years ago. It was in 2016, I think. It was during the 2016 campaign. He said, I agree with Mr. Trump on tariffs. Which we know he still does, but you can't agree with Trump on anything.
This was on ABC this week. Rachel Bade, a contributor to ABC News. Here's what she had to say about the Democratic leadership. Because that was, you think about it, inside Washington. I don't think this has been discussion with that normal people in the normal things they're doing, talking about. But this whole thing, I mean, because they're getting excited. Oh, all right, we've got Sanders, we've got AOC. They view this, I think, some of them as a positive. Not all, though. Here's this.
But the problem for Democrats right now is if they're primaried by a bunch of Bernie Sanders, AOC-type Democrats, they're going to have a real hard problem flipping the House. I mean, look, they only have to win a couple of seats. And while these folks really sort of gin up the base, they get people really excited, Democrats really excited. When it comes to independent voters, a lot of those types think Democrats are out of touch. They don't like what they see as sort of Democrats moving further left. So, like, that's not necessarily a win. And
I think the mainstream media is overusing out of touch. Bat soup crazy may be closer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly where they are.
When they say they're out of touch,
Yeah.
no, they're nuts.
No, they're not. You know, out of touch is makes it sound like they're not deliberate in what they're doing. They're very deliberate in their agenda. Out of touch, they don't care. They don't care about the American people. They don't care about their constituents.
And I think what's happening, I could be wrong, but, you know, Tim Walz getting all excited last week, which I think helped to start a lot of this. I mean, Schumer, with what he did, really was the catalyst for all of it. But I think that the Democrats look at this, and you tell me whether you think I'm onto something or not here, Eric.
Okay.
They view what Harris did in the election by trying to agree with Trump and talk about, you and I talked about, you know, the border wall and, you know, how, you know, she was going to be tougher on the border and then everything else that she jumped on, all the major issues she tried to co-opt from Trump. I think they look at that and say, I think this is what's going on. This party doesn't want to moderate. We are the radicals. Tim Walz is a radical.
Yeah.
AOC is a radical. Bernie Sanders is a radical. They're doing all the speaking for the Democratic Party right now. Nobody's paying attention to Schumer.
Right.
Yep. And or even Jeffries. Nobody's paying attention to Jeffries. The mainstream media is excited because they think that the revival of the Democratic Party is not to moderate, but to go more bat soup crazy.
Yep. It really is. You're just at this point now that anger drives everything. And if you're not angry enough, you know, Schumer made a couple of huge mistakes. The first one, saying no when he probably knew that he was going to vote for the continuing resolution. Something happened overnight. So even if you give him benefit of the doubt and he didn't know that, maybe they saw the internals. We don't know the GOP actually doing a good job in putting out, in their own words, the videos of Democrats going after this idea of shutting the government down over the years. That didn't work too well. But roughly 24 hours later, he's on board with Trump. Well, you can't do that. We had just talked about that just days before all this went down. You can't agree with Trump on anything. On anything. Trump could come up with his own brand new EV mandate after doing away with them and make it even tougher than the EV mandate the liberals put out there. And then, wow, you think they hate Teslas? They would hate every EV ever made at that point. There's nothing you can do at all where you agree with Trump.
The meme, it was even more than memes, but you saw it all over social media. Trump should come out in favor of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
If he comes out with in support of Planned Parenthood, the Democrats will scream that all public funds must stop now and Planned Parenthood must go away.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's, I mean, it's just, again, it's just anger. They have nothing, so just ramp up the emotion. Ramp up the emotion. And get the people they call highly educated that can't tell you what shape the Pentagon building is. Get them to vote for you. I guarantee you that would have been my follow-up question. Okay, Who do you think was better to lead the country, the current president or Kamala Harris? Who did you vote for? I'd love to know. For those spring breakers. They weren't Trump people. Come on.
Well, and I need to. I think it was on Bill Maher. Where did we play it over? No. It was Friedberg who said it. You talk to any Republican, and they'll tell you why they like Trump.
Yeah.
You talk to outside of the radicals. If you talk to moderate Democrats, they can't tell you where they stand or where the Democratic Party is going.
Right.
And we've always said that the mainstream media and the Democrats are ignoring their problem, and their problem is they suck on the issues.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Yep.
You're insane on the issues.
Yep.
A man cannot be a woman because the man thinks he's a woman.
Yep.
Sorry, that's crazy talk. That person may believe it.
Yep.
And as the Democrats say, Democrats believe that transgenders have significant mental challenges because they keep using the excuse that if you don't lie, they might commit suicide.
Right.
But the science is not there.
Well, think about this. They're the worst or the best, whatever you want to say, at bringing up alerts and any form of crisis. They bring up that level of crisis and tell you we're not going to do anything about it. It's best to just shut up. Think about that. We talked about that. But what they're trying to do is instill fear in people. That's all they've got. It's all emotion.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We're 3 hours through the show, and we haven't touched on anything.
I know.
Rosie O'Donnell speaks.
Okay.
Her and her therapist had a plan to get out of the United States if Trump was elected. You know what she talks about a lot, like a lot of liberals do, about Trump's lack of empathy. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I will say about, we said this from really day one in 2015, we said where Trump has empathy is for Americans.
Yeah.
Trump's empathy starts with Americans first.
Right.
You can't make the case that it doesn't.
Right. By the way, just because I don't care doesn't mean I don't have empathy.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. All right. Let's fact check Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
Let's see what he said he liked about what Donald Trump has done in office, and then compare to what he has said in the past.
Okay.
This was made very quickly yesterday.
Yeah.
This came about on social media very quickly after his interview on the Sunday morning news shows.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think cracking down on fentanyl, making sure our borders are stronger. Look, nobody thinks illegal immigration is appropriate. Look, I think that the wall is an absurd idea. I think it's a waste of money. I think it just fans Trump's illusions.
America cannot simply build walls. We look foolish to the rest of the world. You look foolish to Mexico.
So we are going to end the ICE raids, which are terrorizing communities all across this country. We are going to impose a moratorium on deportations.
Well,
my God, they just can't be consistent on anything. They're trying to find a way. You know, the whole goal is we need, in order to move forth our Marxist agenda, and this is what's going on, because the people that are speaking right now for the Democrats are AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And who else? Was somebody else?
Crockett.
Oh, yeah, Crockett.
Yeah, how could you forget Crockett?
Oh, yeah.
You shouldn't forget Crockett.
Crockett, AOC.
You need to call her and tell her you have a duck in your backyard. That's what you call your congressman for, right?
You know, I believe, because I am just a couple of blocks from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, there are like federal rules when ducks lay eggs in your yard.
Also, that duck may be from the neighboring district. That could be a Republican duck.
Could be a Republican duck.
She just flew over to lay eggs, and
all the duck has to do is fly three blocks over.
Yeah, could be a Republican duck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the duck clearly believes in family.
Yeah, but I think the duck's always, trying to wake me up in the morning to let me know that she's a victim.
Well, she might actually be a victim.
She might. All right, you ready for Rosie O'Donnell?
Oh.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Rosie O'Donnell on European media. Here we go.
And to think that cruelty and lack of empathy is a value that is sprouted from the highest office in our country is overwhelmingly sad to me personally, and it felt like way too much to take for me as well, emotionally.
It has taken a toll on you.
Oh, my gosh, it has. I feel on the verge of crying when I was there, when he got elected. I luckily had a plan with my therapist. Hope she's watching. Hi, Ann. And I said to her, should he be elected, which none of us thought was going to happen, I need a plan. And the plan was always and only Ireland.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
I am amazed, and I've learned this really over the last year from so many Hollywood people that have podcasts now.
Yeah.
Do they all have therapists?
I think they all like talking about their therapists. I guess they all have therapists.
It is amazing the number of Hollywood people on their podcasts that talk about their therapist.
I think they like talking about it. If you've got a legitimate reason to have a therapist, that's one thing. They love talking about it. Mentioning their therapist.
Is that part of the virtue signaling
kind of leverage?
That they're victims, and the proof that they're victims of the oppressive society is because, for example, in her case,
so bad.
Trump is so bad, she needs a therapist to help her plan her life.
Full on. They were the ones that were crying after the win in 2016, crying, as she mentioned, she was, wanted to cry after he won this time around. They want to tell you that they're a bigger victim. It's a contest. It has been a virtue signaling and sometimes anger contest, too. Bring any emotion you like, except for joy. They tried that. Remember, they tried joy at the DNC. We saw them. That didn't work.
It didn't last long.
Because the VP candidate told everybody to go to hell. That's not joy, Tim. Now he wants to take a swing on all the Trump voters. Tim, still not joy.
Put him up. Put him up. I'll take it with a hand behind my back.
It's like
put him up.
I keep thinking of the whole bobbing and weaving, because I'm not standing up if he takes a swing at me. It's not worth that. But I think I can bob and weave from him in the chair, and he's going to wear himself out.
Well, wait a minute. If
then he's going to start crying.
No, if Walz was standing up and then Newsome was there doing his bob and weave without his hands in the air.
His shoulder thing?
Or the shoulder thing where he's bobbing back and forth.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. A little bobblehead thing. Yeah.
You know what it reminds, and I think I told our staff the other day when Walz was doing that, he reminded me of if anybody remembers the old Cheers with Norm, and Norm's sitting at the end of the bar, and I don't know why it reminded me of it, but when him and Vera broke up, and a guy who they went to high school with came in the bar, and he was just as fat as Norm, and so they fight for Vera.
Yeah.
And basically, they hold each other by the arms and hit each other with their guts. It's the funniest darn thing you ever want to see. And I don't know why when Walz was saying, "I'll fight you," and we'll take them, and it was like, shut up.
Yeah. I mean, it's rage, it's emotion, it's any emotion. And right now it's a lot of rage, but also, they're a victim. So I think that's part of that. It's one thing to go to therapy, and if you need therapy, it's recommended. But when you're going out of your way to mention it at every other turn, that's virtue signaling. Unless you're talking to a group of people about therapy, right? In that setting, all right, then that applies. But they bring it up a lot.
And the thing about empathy, I guess it's who you have empathy for. Did Biden have empathy when he opened the border?
Right.
Did Biden have empathy for the people of New York City and Chicago that are screaming bloody murder, that so much of their budget went to migrants coming into the country?
Isn't she a New Yorker? Do you have empathy for the people, the victims of 9/11? Because that was an INS problem. That was which goes back to a very liberal idea that has been a problem for the longest time that Donald Trump wants to fix, and that is seal the border.
I think the question is not a lack of empathy, but who do you have empathy for?
Right. Right. What do you actually care about?
Did you have empathy when Biden would not investigate where COVID came from?
Right.
Where he refused to, and they lied to the American public about it? Did you have empathy for the school children who weren't able to go to class because you made up science about COVID, and you paid attention to the teachers union and people like Randy Weingarten, who only cared about herself and her huge salary and didn't give a damn about the children and how much school they missed?
Right.
Was there any empathy for the American public that was isolated, and in liberal states isolated for a lot longer than conservative states based on false information?
Right.
Any empathy there? Any empathy? You're rich. You can go wherever the hell you want. Any empathy when the last administration was warned, stop the spending, it's going to cause massive inflation? Any empathy there for the middle class?
Right. Any empathy for the victims, the criminals who have come over here illegally?
Zero.
None.
Zero.
Absolutely
none.
None. And by the way, Ireland, you're welcome. You can have her.
Well, I am not against anybody who wants out. Go.
Yeah.
You want out of the United States? Go.
Yep. I don't have a problem. But, she can't quit talking about it. Again, what does that tell you? If it ever came to that, and it would never come to it, but if it ever came to that, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just go. Well, no, she's got to be the victim. Nobody noticed when she left, so she had to announce it 2 months later. By the way, I'm leaving. Oh, when? 2 months ago. Yeah, we didn't notice.
Don't you love the ones on social media when somebody says, I've had it, and I need to let everybody know that I'm officially signing off, and I won't be back, well, at least for a while, because I need to get my head together.
Yeah.
Because all these comments are just getting to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody cares.
Well,
move on.
Do you think that
.org.
Do you think that among other things, when we talk about character traits, that toughness is something that's disappearing just a tad?
Oh, it's gone a long time ago. I mean, seriously. And how do you overcompensate? Well, you overcompensate by threatening to beat up half the country. You're overcompensating. Bring it down a notch.
And the people that are talking about that they want to beat up other people are the ones that you look at, and it's pretty self-evident that they would have a tough time beating up anybody.
And they accuse the other side of violence all the time. How many times did we see that? How many high-profile people on the left talked about getting in the ring with Trump? I could take him. Wow, what's your problem? Seriously. And they accuse him and people on the right of violence and fascism. They can't debate you. They'll take a swing at you, though. But will they really?
Will they? It's like,
skin that smoke wagon.
Well, come on. I mean, it was hilarious. So when Walz said it,
mm-hmm.
It was like, and I think I could beat them up. It's like,
well, that's the thing. It's laughable. It's like, because I'd be over in the corner in my chair, and he's still taking swings. It's like, Tim.
Well, unless the dancing,
you're out of breath, man.
Unless the dancing and and jumping up in the air and having your hands up in the air like that is some type of deflection maneuver where all of a sudden he brings a hand down and gives you a quick punch,
right?
Gives you a sucker punch or something,
right?
But I don't think many people, irrespective of your political affiliation, would be too afraid if Tim Walz says, let's duke it out.
Yeah. No. Not even for a second.
Like, really?
Again, I'm not even getting out of the chair. I don't take it seriously. It sounds like a third grader who wants to be a bully, but it's too feminine. That's what it sounds like.
Well, no, when you just said that, that was the other part of the conversation. So,
but it's because it's all laughable.
They're attacking my masculinity. They can't handle my masculinity. That's what it is. They're afraid of my type of masculinity. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that under the hood thing, you put transmission fluid where the windshield wiper fluid goes.
Oh, my gosh.
That's not a tire. That's a steering wheel, Tim. It's just, I mean, it's not, it's just laughable. I don't know why you have to behave that way. But if you're going to play, then okay.
No, we're going to have fun with it.
I'll bite all day. That's fine. It makes it easy for me, and I still don't have to stand up. That's my whole goal.
We should fake a fight in the studio that you and I are fighting. I could take you, Eric. No, I'll take you. No, I'll take you. I'll take you. And then just like have sound effect. Like,
yeah. Ow! Well, if even faking it requires standing up, I'm out.
Hey, Mo.
Yeah, exactly.
Reminded me of the Seinfeld with when George asked Elaine,
right,
who would win in a fight between me and Jerry?
Right.
Oh, you would. Really? Why? Because you cheat.
Right.
I would. Jerry goes, like how? He goes, poke eyes.
Right. Well, that's it.
Poke eyes, and he goes, groin stuff.
Yeah. After a fight with Tim Walz, it's like the media would say, well, and the other fighter was held overnight for observation as a result of hair pulling. He suffered great hair loss during the fight. I mean,
just so childish.
It really is.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on compliance, safety, accountability. Compliance, Safety, Accountability, or CSA, is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety and to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on our roads. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers based on data collected during roadside inspections, crash reports, and FMCSA investigations. Based on the data that is compiled, motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked to determine intervention priority. Low scores are better, so carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You want to hear from my insane congressperson?
Oh, okay.
Jasmine Crockett, defending males against females in sports. All right, here we go. You ready? All right, here we go.
To them, the trans kids that want to play the sports, Lord have mercy, that is the biggest issue that we had. Since when? Since when? Find the little trans child that is ruining your life. Like, I mean, I'm just like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
That's how you sell misogyny, just like you sell racism. What fear do you have? What fear do you have of a small racist child? They're not going to affect your life whatsoever. What's the problem with a small misogynist, be a young man being taught the misogyny of the radical transgender movement? Just a young boy.
Right.
It's no big deal. Don't make any big deal of it.
Right.
Like I said, the misogyny, how easy the Democrats and how easy liberal females have embraced the misogyny of the radical transgender movement is really a fascinating thing in history to look at. It really is. When you look at history of our nation or any nation, the acceptance of women to that narrative of that level of misogyny is just incredible.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the things that should be discussed, and I think by this administration and just in general, all Republicans, there was a video that went viral. I just played it here for you. I can't play it on the air because there's too many cursing words, and it's a woman from Canada. She shows the paperwork and everything. And, you see it now, especially with the tariff thing about, Canadian health care. People say, we get it free. There's this Canadian woman. She has a spinal tumor already. She gets an MRI once a year. The doctors are suspecting, because of, her symptoms, that she may have a brain tumor. 13 months to get an MRI.
Wow.
13 months. She said she gets one MRI a year anyway that's scheduled a year in advance because of her spinal tumor.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to add on another MRI for for a possible brain tumor, 13 months. She said, and it's a classic line, Canadian healthcare is free, if you can wait.
Yeah. And it's great if you're healthy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, it's something that needs to be taught, that the free, when something is free or you believe it's free, well, then, complete the sentence of it. And, the Fraser Institute for years has been talking about the wait times in Canada that would be totally and completely unacceptable in the United States.
Yeah, but
completely.
Yep.
There is no nirvana for health care, and the left tries to sell you on it. They're going to try it. I saw it again the other day, especially, Canada has free health care. Nothing is free.
No.
Nothing.
No, it is not.
They have health care that's paid for this by the state, which means they ration health care. How do they ration it? Your wait times.
Yep.
But I just happened to see that now, and I'd seen it a bunch yesterday, and I'm like, boy, that's going viral.
Well, it's unacceptable, and we wouldn't stand for it. And those that were calling for single payer here in the United States, and what would we get inevitably? Oh, but we're the U.S., we'll do it differently. No, you won't.
Yeah, we got that, didn't we, when we talked about that?
Because it's a matter of cost. Look, Obama was trying to get there. Well, maybe your grandmother should just go home.
Robert Reich got there.
Yep.
That if we were honest with the American people, that, well, I'll say it, that my father should be allowed to just die.
Right.
Not be allowed, but should have been refused treatment. Because my father will
We're
be
going to send you
99
home
in a
so you
couple
can die.
weeks. Right.
He said it out loud.
Robert Reich said it out loud.
Young people, you're going to have to pay more. And there was just a smattering of applause, not many, because, it is Berkeley. It's mostly young people. And it's like, what? And then old people, we're going to let you go home so you can die. Yay!
We talked about on Bill Maher's show with Andrew Sullivan and Ezra Klein, they were talking about the changes coming because of population movement, and talking about how many seats Texas is going to pick up and who's losing the seats in the House, and therefore, power in the Electoral College, California, Illinois, New York. And he said, this thing isn't going to be reversed anytime soon. And then I saw this article, Wall Street Journal editorial board, the tale of two states on job creation. California had a jobs recession in 2024. Texas had a jobs boom. Democrats are slowly waking up to the fact that migration from blue to red states could become a political problem for winning the House of Representatives. It's going to get worse, judging by the Labor Department's latest state jobs report, which shows that California lost jobs in nearly every industry in the year before Donald Trump took office. The Bureau of Labor Statistics last week released annual revised job numbers for states based on more complete data. California gained a net 22,400 jobs from January of 2024 to January of 2025. All of its net new jobs were in government, 58,300. And healthcare, social assistance, and private education, 148,000, which rely to a large extent on government spending. Private businesses shed jobs in the year, including construction in California, minus 28,000, manufacturing, minus 33,000, information, minus 11,000, finance, minus 22,000, professional and business services, 49,000, leisure and hospitality, 29,500, and retail, 4,300. Some job losses are a result of small businesses closing because of high taxes and other costs. These include California's $16.50 an hour minimum wage and $20 for fast food restaurants. The state's Private Attorneys General Act lets trial lawyers extort small business by filing dubious lawsuits for alleged labor violations. Most businesses pay off the attorneys in settlements because defending against the lawsuits would cost even more. Large companies are also relocating workers to low tax and cost states. Texas added 187,000 jobs over the same period, with gains spanning all industries, including construction up 20,000, manufacturing up 4,200, information 200, finance 19,000, professional and business services 19,700, hospitality 11,000, and retail 14,000. The Lone Star State added only about a quarter as many jobs in healthcare, social assistance, and private education as California. Texas spent about $50 billion on health and human services compared to California's $228 billion, 4 times as more. Democrats in Sacramento cannot blame Donald Trump or the wildfires in January for the state's paltry employment growth. Employment declined between January and September of 2024, but then surged in November and December, as in the rest of the country after Mr. Trump's election. Jobs were flat between December of 2024 and this January. One problem for the Democrats in Sacramento is that their progressive tax regime, with an effective top marginal tax rate of 14.5% on wage income and 13.3% on investment income, has made the state budget increasingly dependent on high earners whose incomes are volatile. The top 1% of earners contribute half of the state's income tax revenue. California's economy is becoming more dependent on government spending, including federal funds, which totaled $162 billion last year. You won't hear about any of these California problems on Governor Gavin Newsom's new podcast, Interviewing MAGA Men, nor from the progressives lambasting him for reaching out to Donald Trump's supporters. A growing problem for Mr. Newsom's national ambitions and his party is that California epitomizes the leftist policies that harm workers and employers. That's why so many are leaving for Texas.
Yep. But look, again, been saying it for a long time. It especially applies to California, but other blue states. At some point, you can't afford to stay. You can't afford to live, and at some point, you have to go. Met a young guy. We've known each other for a few years, but hired him to do some work, electrician, a friend of the family. And he was talking about living, and he's from San Diego. Loves San Diego. I mean, what's not to love about San Diego? Hated leaving. But he said, California policies, I couldn't stay. I could not stay. And that's where a lot of people are. It's just, again, goes beyond not being able to afford things, but ultimately what you can't afford to do is sit there and drown. You've got to go. Texas and Florida are picking up a lot of those people. And they get here, and it's like they've arrived on another planet. Anecdotally, just watching them comment, and there's stories about them that our newspapers here in this state in Texas have covered. People coming to Austin was a big deal for a while. But they moved to Texas, and they're like, I had no idea. I had no idea. Few complaints about the heat, but the cost of living and how they govern, or more importantly, don't over-govern their people. You get to the point where you have to tax people to death, and Texas is working on and has effectively lowered taxes more and more. They're trying to do that even more with property tax. They're moving again on that. Who knows? Texas might be another state soon without a property tax. I have no idea what they do to replace that tax, that revenue. But the idea is to lower the tax burden on people, to lower the cost of living, to give you and your life, give you and your family more freedom.
Well, when it was a year and a half ago when they hit, the seniors on the property tax, for the life of me, I've never been in any state. I wonder if it's happened in the history of the country where you've gotten such a reduction.
Right.
My property tax was cut, 25% in 1 year. Now, it's because I was a senior. Some of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was also a general reduction.
Right.
For the life of me, I'm just like, well, that's going to remain with me forever.
Yeah.
I've had friends and family ask me, well, when you retire, you coming back to New York? Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Why not? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I like the hotel I'm staying at when I go back now.
Exactly. Well, but
I don't plan on any long-term renting.
Right.
Couple of days, I'll be back. Sure, I'll be back.
Right.
Moving? I don't think so. No. But it's got to be tough to be when think about this. You're employed. It's not like when I left. I'm in radio, so of course you leave.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. Except for you.
Yeah, no, I'm not leaving Texas. Sorry.
Well, I'm not leaving again though. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine working yourself to exhaustion. One job, two jobs, and your family there, and you've got roots settled, and you don't want to move for a job.
Right.
But you got to.
Yep.
And you're employed.
Yep.
And you've got to move.
Yep.
I can't imagine what an emotional nightmare that has to be for people.
Yeah.
When you finally get to that point of saying, we got to get the hell out. It doesn't matter if we're working or not. We can't afford to live here.
Right.
And you talk about Rosie O'Donnell. See, this is the arrogance of the elite. She's rich. She can move.
Yep.
I'll go to another country.
Right.
From California.
Instead of, and they always pretend like they're fighting for the little guy.
Right. There's no empathy.
They're the first to run.
There's no empathy for the little guy in California from the left.
No, they don't care. They don't care about you. It's all about them.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Because our show ends in an hour. And after our show is over, we record it, and it becomes our podcast. Now, we're recording it during the show, and it's not like old reel-to-reel tape. It's all digital. And so right after our show's over, our podcast is ready. So if you miss any of the hours, you can catch it on our podcast after our show is over. And if you cannot listen to one of our great radio stations live during the show, we stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app.
And to the hipsters, stop asking. We're not putting it on vinyl ever. Stop it.
Maybe.
Just stop.
Coming up, Elon Musk threatens a lawsuit after ex-Squad member Jamal Bowman calls him a Nazi and a thief. That's really interesting because
I wondered about it when she said it.
Yeah, we'll get to that coming up.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.